Hello from the KELOLAND Digital Desk. I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt. It is Tuesday, October 7th, and this is Weather or Not. We had some chilly air across eastern KELOLAND this morning with numbers in the 30s to near 40 degrees, and we'll see if we do that again for tomorrow. There could be some areas of frost maybe showing up across western Minnesota. It's something we'll have to watch, but don't be too surprised to see temperatures fall to the middle 30s for tomorrow morning. Things may be shaking up a little bit by the time we do hit the middle of the month. We'll show you details on that. And, of course, what we've been doing over the past, we'll say, month, close to a month now, is looking at this snow trend. Do we have any snow in the works anytime soon? We had that yesterday across the higher elevations of the hills. We showed you that Terry Peak live cam, able to pick up on some snow with that. No snow in our forecast for today. Dry skies, futurecast as we go through the rest of the day and into this evening and tonight. We'll have a couple of clouds that may hold during this evening in southeastern KELOLAND. Otherwise clear. A southerly wind for tomorrow. That will help bring in some warmer temperatures. As we do go into your Thursday, I think that will continue. The slow warming trend will continue right into Thursday. Numbers well above average, but maybe not hitting those 90s. I would not be surprised to see 80-degree weather return for some over the next couple of days. So for today, with mostly sunny skies and light winds, expect temperatures in the 60s to near 70 degrees. And then for tonight, watch those temperatures in the Minnesota. I would not be surprised to see those numbers fall to the middle 30s. In the meantime, we'll have temperatures in the 30s and 40s with mostly clear conditions. We'll talk more about that possibility of frost in Minnesota when we come back. Welcome back to Weather or Not. I am now joined by meteorologist Brian Karstens. Brian, how you doing this morning? I'm glad I didn't check your camera, and I'm glad it lines up.
Perfect. You did a great job.
I was like, oh, no. We'll see what it looks like. Then I have to do it on the fly.
How are you today?
Good on a, what's this, Tuesday?
Yep. It is Tuesday.
I want to tell this story. It wasn't that long. A couple of months ago, I think I came into work, and I looked at you, and I go, is it Friday today? Isn't it nice to have a job where it's like, it's Friday, but yet you don't know it because you enjoy coming?
We kind of we do our job, and then of course sometimes the weekends we kind of spill over there. You and I kind of sometimes take turns. You more than me on the Saturday morning show.
Oh, but you get to work with Perry.
Right, and it goes fast.
It goes it's an hour long compared to the 2.5 hour long show, plus the cut-ins that you have for CBS This Morning.
Yep.
But when you work with Perry, oh yes, that goes quick.
It's always interesting too. Yeah, when you do those shows in the weekend, then it also gives you more consistency for the next week. But I also then sometimes get lost on my days because it's like, okay, I think I worked yesterday or the day before,
right?
What day
and then you're thinking, we always say, timing's everything in weather, and you have to get your days straight with these dates to say, okay, it's this day we expect this thing to run through and whatnot.
And a lot of days we've had consistent weather. Now, the last couple, we've had some changes, and it's gotten colder. This morning, we were down to 35 in Canton. I saw that, and also Montrose. I had a couple of sensors out there west of Sioux Falls, so we're at 33. And I saw 132 at Renner.
Okay.
Right in the Big Sioux River Valley. And, cold air drains, so it makes sense that you'd see those kind of numbers in the valley locations in the rural areas.
And, we could see frost for tomorrow morning. Probably saw some frost in those areas, too. Clear skies, light winds. You mentioned those temperatures that fell to the low to middle 30s into those locations. But, we are looking at that possibility to see frost in eastern KELOLAND. And here's our setup for that, too. High pressure will come in from the north, and that will settle across north-central Minnesota, okay? We'll still go with light winds for tonight, clear skies, and I think the wind will really play a role in how cool or cold we get tonight, because what happened last night is we were able to bring in a light southerly wind. I think I saw that in the central and western South Dakota, and you see how those temperatures there fell to near 40 degrees. And I checked not that long ago. I think Sioux Falls, that number that's coming in at 39 for a low temperature, I think we actually hit 38 earlier this morning.
Yeah, that's a little chilly.
And we'll see how low we get tonight. But those numbers that you see in Minnesota, Marshall 44, Ortonville 45, even Watertown 44, and Aberdeen, we'll throw in Aberdeen at 44. They had some cloud cover. They had a thin veil of clouds. They also had winds that stayed up a little bit longer as compared to what happened in Sioux Falls. I noticed that when I checked those surface obs during the morning. So their temperatures stayed in the middle 40s for that location. But that may not be the case for tomorrow morning. We'll have our clear skies, and look at this. Here's the Canadian forecast. And I wanted to bring this up because I know, Brian, you were really talking up Minnesota, western Minnesota, west central Minnesota. Ortonville on the Canadian model wants to fall to 29. Clear skies, light winds. Marshall wants to fall to 30.
Yeah, those are pretty chilly numbers, aren't they? And this was a little part of the discussion we had last week. I remember the modeling kind of trying to do this little push of colder air. And this is an example of a little backdoor cold front out of northern Minnesota. So tonight will be colder, I would argue, in those spots in particular, just because of the setup there with that in mind. And then we'll kind of see how things, affect Sioux Falls. If we end up with a southeast wind right around 5 in the morning, probably keeps us near that 40. If we lose that wind, though, and there's any change in the timeline on any of this, that makes a difference, too. And I think that's important that we tell that story because, obviously, we'll be paying attention to those things. And while we're talking here, I was just kind of thumbing through, a couple of things here behind the scenes and just looking at, cloud cover forecasts and anything else that could make a difference here. And that definitely is part of the conversation, isn't it?
It's part of the equation that gets us to these temperatures. And, of course, the dew points. That is something that you looked at during KELOLAND this morning, too, more so behind the scenes. And it's into... Do
you want to take this graphic here?
Week?
I just pulled it out of my library.
Yes, this one that you brought up. But I think you were even talking about, is it next week when some of these numbers fall to the teens and 20s? Is that right?
Well, we have actually for tonight, okay, so we look at these numbers. Like so Sioux Falls North, you see these dew points in the 20s around Watertown and Marshall, Minnesota. Okay, so
now what run is this off of?
This is the HER. So this is our short-term
modeling. Okay.
Yep. And what this is grabbing here is your low level. This is your basically a 5 feet, right near the surface dew point forecast. So if we see a dew point at 31 in the morning in Sioux Falls, well, I would be more concerned about frost. But again, the trade-off is the wind. If the wind is pushing out of the southeast already, that would help to mix things just a little bit. Doesn't take much. No. Even if it's 8 miles an hour, I mean, it could make a big difference on that low. But the number in Watertown, like a dew point of 22, it's pretty low. And it's actually a lot lower than what we saw this morning. In fact, it's not even comparable in the Northeast because the clouds you just mentioned kept that temperature a lot warmer. Yeah. So keep that in mind if you got your tomatoes still growing, and there's a chance that a few of those counties could get thrown into a frost advisory if things keep trending that way here the next several hours.
The best chance we have at those lighter winds will be across Minnesota, closer to the high pressure system that will be moving through Minnesota, eventually settling in across northern Wisconsin. So again, that Canadian forecast, we'll go back to that graphic, showing those temperatures in the 30s in eastern South Dakota, near 30. We'll say near 30 for Marshall and Ortonville. It still has Worthington at around 36. So we do have another night with some cooler air. I know you described it as cold this morning, and, of course, why not get those temperatures into the 30s.
You want to see my graphic here? I just pulled this out of my library, too. My cloud effect graphic here, that this illustrates how and why, like Watertown in the Northeast, were so mild this morning. And it was literally 40s and near 50 up there. But, the difference is a clear sky versus cloudy skies. It's all the difference. And that's why on a classic fall night when, it gets a little colder and we can actually get 20s for lows. Not that that's happening yet, but it gives you kind of a visual perspective. The cloud areas stay in the 40s, the clear sky areas in the 20s. And that's all due to radiational cooling. So the long wave radiation, infrared, that's a little key term there. The infrared radiation that emits back to the atmosphere. It can radiate out a little bit more efficiently, can't it?
This is the second morning we've had since September that we fall into the 30s. Everything else has been above that.
Right. Yeah. And that was so long ago. It just seems like it was kind of a blip, and then it was, back to hot weather.
It was close to about a month ago. I think it was the 6th that we fell. And remember that strong cold front we had. I brought this up, maybe it was last week, and I have it written down. On the 4th of September, we had that strong front move through, very windy conditions. Could this be another pattern that we're in? It's saying, okay, maybe next month, maybe a month out from now, we could have another hit of some cold air.
Well, you did a great job of timing this particular front, which is, looking back at where we were at the beginning of September. You said, around the 4th through the 9th, or kind of in that ballpark. You were gauging.
We could have a hit of cold air.
Yep, and I would qualify this. This was definitely a chill down. Now we get to warm back up. We knew that was coming, and now our conversation will go toward 70s. Do we hit the 80s again, Scott?
Some will, maybe not everybody. But we do have some 80s in our 7-day forecast. The best areas for that will be western and central South Dakota. And that's something we'll talk more about coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. It's always nice to talk about the pattern ahead and middle of the month. Could there be a shakeup? In fact, I do have a graphic for that. Hold on. There we go. There's my weather shakeup ahead.
You find this stuff. I like that. I think you're right.
I don't know. I mean, it's basic graphic.
It's and I see you got raindrops, you got snowflakes, sunshine, and what else is there? Cloud
cover. Yeah.
All of it there. So let's see what happens mid-October. And we're about due for
something
better, bigger storm, maybe, to kind of blend things out. So the jury, of course, we've got it. We say the conversation kind of goes along with these, various model runs, and then how we interpret that. So we try to give you some confidence levels when you look at this stuff, because it's going to tend to, skip and hop all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we kind of expect, but we want to navigate the waters a little bit here. So I know you've got your first graphic there, a little bit of that rain this weekend coming up.
And remember, we said this before in conversations that we've had, the models like to put something in, take it back, put it back in, take it back out.
It is that little dance, isn't it?
It is. It is that little dance. And we'll see what happens with this one, okay? You mentioned our chance for rain this weekend, and we do have that in our 7-day forecast on Sunday. It's in there at about 20% eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. So we have it in the Sioux Falls 7-day forecast. We could also get a couple of areas with some showers on Saturday, too. Maybe a rumble of thunder, as we'll have warm temperatures. We know those numbers are going up. 70s, 80s for this coming weekend. So we do have some moisture that will make its way in actually from the southwest. And then we have the trough that will dig across the southwestern United States. These are always interesting to watch. And that time frame, too, it even paints in a couple of scattered showers and thunderstorms. Parts of KELOLAND, that's Tuesday. That's the 14th of October. Let me go ahead and hit the button again. One piece of energy, do you see that? One piece of energy leaves, and that moves through during the middle of the month. And I labeled that as that mid-month shakeup with our weather. You could even see it's trying to bring in some snow into the hills of western South Dakota, maybe northwestern South Dakota. These are showers, thunderstorms, central into eastern KELOLAND. We still have a lot of warm air here. That's highlighted in red, covering eastern South Dakota, and then not that far off, of course, that blue there is the snow. We have temperatures that will be below average. So that's one piece of energy that moves through. I'll hit the button again. As we do get into maybe the following weekend, that's showing October 19th, that other area of low pressure can move through to bring in another round of precipitation. But I'm also interested in this. Could there be a third one in the works that comes in during that third week of the month? Another trough tries to dig across the southwestern United States. We warm again ahead of that. So we'll have the seesaw battle of these troughs coming through, warming us, cooling us, warming us, cooling us. And that eventually should lead to better chances of precipitation. Here's a closer view of Futurecast here. Now, again, this is the 15th. Have that area of low pressure, eastern North Dakota. We have the cooler temperatures in place, and we'll see exactly where the rain and the snow end up with this. But, yeah, we did see some snow earlier across western South Dakota, bringing in those showers, thunderstorms in the central and eastern KELOLAND. So we have a lot to sort out as we look at these models day by day. A lot of them are updated every 6 hours, more so every 12 hours. So, we get good updates during the day. And sometimes when we're even not at work, we'll go back and, sneak around, check maybe our laptop and see what the latest run is showing us.
Yes, and we are in a point, too, where, you're trying to reconcile all of this because one thing about those graphics you showed, too, you've got an anchor of high pressure over, let's say, Texas or the southern plains.
Mm-hmm. It's one thing I didn't mention. Yeah, you're right.
And
high pressure in Texas.
So that's a driver of some of the residual heat. So that's, that gives us a really good launching pad that when we latch onto south winds, we've got that ability to burst back really quickly. And so you have to consider that. And then you have what's going on in the Canadian prairies. And we know that we've got, some blocking features that can start to push some colder air at times. And so, and then to even add another wild card here, you also, because of that anchor of high pressure, you've got tropical weather that's spinning around even in the eastern Pacific Ocean, so off the coast of Mexico, Baja California. Once in a while, we'll notice the modeling trying to pick up that, push it around the edge of that ridge of high pressure, so then that's even more of an interesting piece. But one thing I did notice when I was scanning through the jet stream winds, and this is my graphic just to show you kind of the temperature anomalies, so this won't go into all of that necessarily, but the communication point here is that essentially we're going to see those temperatures, going back up the temperature scale. Obviously, we end the week on that note. I think that's pretty likely here, Scott. And the bottom line is, for now, and let me put this into motion here. I'll click the button here for you so you can see the blues kind of going away. See the warmth that erupts here? I mean, it goes from basically the Gulf Coast all the way into central Canada. When you look at relative to average, way above normal. Now this here is even more so early next week in anticipation of that low and that storm system you just talked about. If it comes to pass and takes any kind of formation like that, you can see the spin there, and that's all driven by this clash of the air masses, right? And so that would be the assumption that maybe we could see a little bit more of a vigorous system at that point.
Anytime you bring up these temperature trend graphics and we have that north to south line, that orientation, warm air to the east, cold air to the west, I'm always thinking something's going to happen.
Yeah, you're right about that. That's a good observation because you're right. That blue-green line, see how if you drew a line from just straight north of Grand Forks, North Dakota, a little bit on the, little to the west, and then you go all the way just west of Denver and then cut down through Albuquerque and then all the way down to the Mexican border. Yeah, that tells us the trough is in the west. Now, remember, this data, though, is coming off of the raw, just one run of the European model. And those runs, they change every 6 hours. So,
and like we say, they put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out.
Yeah. But I'm really curious,
it's the trend
too.
We have to watch.
The thing about the winds, if you actually get into this, I actually looked at the diagnostics on that wind, and that's a really strong jet couplet that comes out of the southwest. So if you have something like that next week, just so you know, there is a risk of, I would say, some severe weather could easily develop ahead of something like that. But we're a long ways off from that because we don't even have a full grasp of how this thing's even going to form. I mean,
it's over a week out.
It's got to be there first, right? And then let's kind of see where this sits tomorrow. We'll have this conversation again. But given all these pieces that are at tug of war with each other, it's kind of challenging right now, Scott. I'd say my personal thought is that, yeah, fall appears to be coming in, but boy, summer's just holding on.
We're still in that transition period where we usually see that more in September than in October.
Correct.
So
yes, that's exactly what I was
thinking. We're trying to work
thinking.
that out.
It's like we're a month behind. Like this is what September, a lot of years you would see this, where you get that bump, maybe a little severe weather too. You could get some more dynamic storms. Not every September, but just thinking about October, typically if we're landing more in the 60s, and then we're staying cooler, then, we've kind of had that behind us in the rearview mirror. But I'm not sold that that's the case here.
No, not at
We're going to
all.
warm up again. Get hot, maybe? We'll see.
Yeah, we call it hot. 80-degree weather, 90s on the table.
Well, this would show mid-80s, if that's right.
Depending on where they do show up, we know all about the dry ground.
Correct, yeah. Can we
And
just
bare
get some rain?
ground, too. Vegetation's not growing anymore.
It is...
Going dormant.
Interesting scene now. All the crops being harvested, Scott. You look around the countryside, and every day they just keep clearing more and more as we go. So,
which is good. That they're able to do that.
Good to get some work done. That's for sure.
All right, where do we stand on this snow trend then? Well, if that system passes, then yeah, sure, we can see some accumulating snows next week, but we'll see what happens as those new model runs do come in. You can see that we do have some snow on the ground to our west. And let me get a little bit closer. Remember that Cherry Peak live cam we showed?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Maybe some snow still trying to hold on into those locations. It was a cold day yesterday. Custer at, 47 for a high?
I think it was even maybe a couple degrees colder.
Maybe cooler than that?
42,
Mid-40s?
43.
Okay, low 40s. Okay.
But it was... it makes a difference now. If you get, kind of a chilly start to the morning, you don't get that momentum. But boy, oh boy, this is the fun graphic here. The 14-day, just to put this out there, the snow forecast, that's 14 days. No, wait a minute. The actual snow that this puts out is before day 14, right?
Yeah, it's comes in day 8.
Day 8.
Yep.
So... if this were to happen, Scott.
Here, let me go back and I'll just play it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you don't have a date.
Yeah, I don't have
on
a date on there. I
top.
don't have any pause frames in there, but yeah, you can see it fills in quickly, and it's I think day 8 it fills in, and then it doesn't fill in anymore.
Right.
So it's that one-shot deal.
Right. But still, I mean, you get something like that, and it's the middle of October, and Bismarck, North Dakota. I mean, you're getting some. And why not? Why they've been so wet and stormy, Scott? Think about that for a minute. This could be the first inkling of a decent snow for North Dakota.
And where have they been wet in South Dakota? They've been getting more wet across northwestern South Dakota.
Exactly.
Been a little wetter into that location.
Yep.
Of course, we know Mobridge, they went through a wet period too last month.
Yep. Backside of the low. Yep. And that would be where this would steer. Again, this is just a very early bird look at things. But I guess, when it's day 8, it's, we're going to have to reconcile that on television tomorrow already, starting to put it in our 7-day forecast a little bit. So this program is kind of a chance to kind of vent those ideas a little bit. But I think for those of you interested in some weather changes, we've got evidence here. Sometimes we just have to be patient about how it's all going to be handled. But I think that whole concept of a second push of some colder air coming in mid-month is alive, that we didn't give up on that idea. We just had to kind of way to be patient for the data to kind of sift back through our concept on that.
I think it was last week, it was suggesting that over the weekend, it was bringing in that cold air. So it delayed
few
the
days
cold.
early. Right.
It delayed the cold and also brought in the system from the southwest. That's the way it looks right now, and of course that can change.
And wouldn't that just fit a lot of what we get when we get into winter? I say that we probably say this phrase more often: delayed but not deny.
I like that one.
Timing is everything. It's just, it's so, that's the difficulty. We can see things, but where do you plant that on the calendar when you're talking a 2-week forecast? That's a really a frontier. That's a challenge for weather forecasting, because modeling, we see a lot of great advancements, but I still think that's a struggle point where, is it going to be day 10 or is it going to be day 15? But you can see some things coming.
It picks up on that idea. The
Right.
idea. It's just
Concept is there, and if we just roll with that, I guess we're making some advances. But let's keep that in mind next week. I think that's a great place to settle out on this forecast and enjoy the challenge of it tomorrow.
In the meantime, enjoy your day today. That's it for us. You watched, not watching anymore. You're done with watching weather